Hi, I'd like to show you an app I created that lets you extend your Electribe fun by creating patterns that have more than 4 bars. Before we start, you could chain two 4-bar patterns to each other using the chain feature, but there are a number of disadvantages to working with two separate patterns that this app tries to solve. The app runs within another platform called Lemur, which you need to download from the App Store, and when you connect it, make sure that the Lemur is receiving input from the Electribe and sending output to the Electribe. First, let me show you that it works by demonstrating an 8-bar song I wrote called the Dorian Scale. Bar 2, bar 3, bar 4, bar 5, bar 6, 7, and 8. So this isn't magic or witchcraft because the Electribe can't sequence more than 4 bars. What the app does is toggle between the first 4 bars on part 1 and the second set of 4 bars on part 2. There's no limit to the number of parts you can toggle this way. Here I'm adding a toggle between part 3 and 4. The app has a button for each and every one of the 16 parts of the Electribe, and it gives you feedback whether each pattern is on or off. And you can control which set of 4 bars, the first or the second, each part plays in, or you can have a part play throughout all 8 bars. The app also lets you create 6-bar patterns. Just start with a pattern length of 3 and double that. You can of course also sequence drums across 8 bars. Here I've added some rim variations towards the end of the 8 bars. The rim toggle is between part 10 and part 12, so the parts that you toggle don't have to be next to each other. You can add as many of these toggles as you want, just take into consideration that each toggle takes away from the amount of total voices that you have, even if it's in the 4-bar portion of your 8-bar loop where it's not being played. Okay, let me show you how to create this from scratch. Let's start with a brand new pattern. Reset all the part toggles in the app to number 1. Turn it off, and just in case, make sure your volume levels are reset. I'll get the pattern going. Just change the kick a bit. I'll choose a triangle wave. Choose a different sound. Set the pattern length to 4. Then just record the first 4 bars of my sequence. I'll just wait until the pattern loops back to bar number 1. And then record the first half of my Dorian masterpiece. Alright, sounds good. Let's mute that and move on to the second half. I see I forgot to change it to a triangle wave, but that's easy to fix. Great, now both parts use the same oscillator. And now we have to tell the app when and where to toggle between the two parts. And the way to do this is by inserting a C-1 note at the end of the 4-bar pattern. So I'm going to do this using step edit. I'm going to go to bar 4, step 15 or 16, doesn't matter which one. Insert a C1 note. And of course I don't want that note to be audible, so I'm going to reduce its velocity to 1, to as low as possible. Then I'm going to go to the other part, set the velocity as low as possible as well, and add a C-1 note, right? So these notes aren't audible, but they tell the app to toggle between the two parts. These notes need to be in the last bar and one of the last notes in the pattern you want to toggle. The last step is to tell the app if the part should be played in the first 4 bars or in the second 4 bars. And you do that by selecting either 1 or 2 for the relevant part button in the app. Once you're ready, turn the app on, reset the toggle volumes, and you can hit play. Make sure that you unmute any parts that you muted while recording so that both halves of the 8 bars play. All right, let's go. These are the first 4 bars, bar 3, bar 4, and then off with part 1, on with part 2. 2 for the second half. You can see the display here toggling between on and off. Part 1 is on, and now, whoops, part 2 is on, and part 1 is off. Back to part 1, on, part 2 is off, and you have your 8-bar loop. To show you how we can add another layer, let's do add a snare. I'm going to add it in parts 10 and 11. Okay, both parts have the same sound. Now it's very important to have the app off if you're recording notes, but if you're sequencing drums, the app can just continue playing in the background. So I'll mute part 11, pick part 10, add some simple snares to every bar of the 4 bars. Okay, so these are my first 4 bars. Let's mute part 10, unmute part 11, and sequence snares for bar 1. And let's go crazy in bar 2, bar 3, which is really bar 7, and bar 8. Okay, so now we've got part 11 doing bars 5 to 8. And part 10 is doing bars 1 to 4. Now we need to go ahead and add the toggles. So I'm in step edit mode. Same drill. Go to bar 4 or bar 3 if you're creating a 6-bar pattern, but here it's bar 4. Add my -C1. Make sure that it's not going to be heard, so its velocity is going to be low. Do the same thing for the other part. -C1. Now because of the defaults, part 10 in the app is already set to play in the first half, so I'll just change part 11 to number 2, which means it'll play in the second loop. Always reset your volume toggles before you hit play. And I can't hear my snares. Okay, if you were watching closely, you'll know why. See, they're active in the second half, in the second 4 bars, but I can't hear them in the first 4 bars because, you guessed it, I didn't unmute part 10. Now here's another thing you don't want to do. You don't want to unmute a part midway. Reset your toggles, hit play, and then your first 4 bars will play when they should, and your second 4 bars will also play when they should. Awesome. Alright, that's it for version 1 of this app. A couple of things you need to know. The app works by setting the level of the tracks between 0 to off to 96 to on. So if you want to control the relative volume of the different parts, do that by using different velocity levels, not amplitude levels. This can be fixed by making the app a bit more complex, but for version 1, I wanted to keep things simple. Second thing to remember, if you want to alternate between parts 13, 14, or 15 and 16, don't forget to turn alternate off in the global parameters menu. That's it. If you like it, hit like. If you have any comments or ideas for improvement, leave it below. Thanks for watching.